All right, guys, this will be a quick video that will go over the networking portion of the exam that you will have. You might not even remember it, but we did networking right at the beginning of the year. It was a couple of weeks way back in September, so probably a lot of this stuff you won't remember. So let's go over this, all right? Let's start with a brief fill in the blanks that will familiarize you guys with some terms such as share, applications, scanners, data, network, communicate, printers. Let me just go over some of these. Okay, so applications, for example. Applications are a piece of software that allow you to do a task such as Word or Excel or PowerPoint. These are all applications, okay? Scanners. Scanners are kind of like printers, except they do the opposite. Instead of printing out information, you can put a Word document or a PDF on a scanner, and it will copy it, and you can send it to somewhere on your network or send it directly to email. So scanners don't necessarily print out a piece of paper, but they will they will copy a piece of data that you have. Okay, speaking of which, data. Data can be a lot of things when we talk about networks, but specifically, data are packets of information that are shared or passed along networks. And of course, networks. Networks are anything where a group of computers are connected together. And if you remember all the way back, we have two types of networks. One is a LAN. A LAN is a local area network. All right. LANs are quite small, relatively speaking. For example, our school has a LAN. All right. Our school has a LAN because all of our computers are networked. You guys log on to certain applications like Play-Doh and email and all sorts of stuff. And that is located on a local area network, which is our International School of Monaco network. And of course, you need a username and a password to log onto that network, and that is for security reasons. Communicate, we all know what that means. Printers. Printers are machines that output information. You send a Word document or an Excel document to them, and then we'll print those out. Okay, so let's go through this. A computer blank is a collection of computers that have been linked together. Okay, so that is network. A computer network is a collection of computers that have been linked together so that they communicate with another. Being linked in a network enables them to share hardware, such as printers. Printers are a type of hardware that we can share on a network. And scanners. Scanners are another type of hardware that we can share on a network. Software, such as application programs. Application programs and software such as application programs and data such as files stored in the project folders. Okay, so those are all the quick, just at a glance there, those are all the words that help you sort of review for what we did in networks. Okay, now we got some true and false statements about networks. Okay, I've already filled these out, but let's go through them. Computers that are not joined together are called workstations. That is true. Computers that are joined on the network are called nodes. N-O-D-E-S, nodes. Nodes are computers that are joined on the network. But if a computer is not joined to a network, if it doesn't have any internet connection and it can't communicate to any other computers and it can't print something to a printer that's across the room, that is a workstation. Sometimes we also call it a stand-alone computer. In fact, I think I use that term a lot, stand-alone computer. Computers are joined together, able to share hardware and software, but not data. That is false. Computers that are joined together are able to share hardware, such as printers, scanners, They can even share monitors. They can share all sorts of hardware. And of course, they can share software. We could share Excel with one another. We could share Word with one another. And we can share data, okay? This Word document, all right? This is an example of data, and I can share it with you guys. I could post it on the server that we have and allow you guys to share it and get it through the network. Examples of hardware that computers on a network can share are the operating system and the web browser. That is false. Operating systems they are not hardware. They are software. Web browsers, they are not hardware. They are software, all right? But we can share operating systems and we can share web browsers on a network, but they are not hardware. They are software. Computers that are close to one another are connected to form a LAN. That is true, okay? Great example is our school. We have a LAN. Even though we're occupied in about 3 or 4 different buildings, we're all connected by a LAN. We all share computers. We all share printers. We can all share data. But outsiders cannot get into our LAN for security reasons. They would need to know a password and a username in order to get onto the LAN. Files in a LAN are stored in individual computers. That is true. Files in a LAN can also be stored on servers. Sorry, I'm not in school, so I can't show you my server connection. But yeah, we could store stuff on servers, all right? We could also store stuff up in the cloud and share those with usernames and passwords. A username and password is normally needed to log onto a LAN, a local area network. Yes, that is true. As you guys know, you have to use a username and password to log onto our LAN. Every time you log onto Plato, you need a username and password, and that's because that is on a protected LAN. WANs, wide area networks. They connect together using radio waves, satellites, and transoceanic cables. Absolutely true. WANs, the best example of a WAN, of course, is the internet. The internet uses all of these things, radio waves, satellites, transoceanic cables, in order to connect computers and networks to one another so that people can use the internet. All right, so we also did topologies, and I believe if you think all the way back to September, I had you guys actually do a little assignment on this. You guys worked in pairs and you chose one of these topologies and you had to draw a poster depicting each one of these topologies, okay? So let me just mention these quickly, okay? And then I'll go through them, all right? The first one then is a bus topology, all right? This is a great picture of a bus topology. Then we have a ring topology. And then of course we have the star topology, okay? All of these are 3 different types of commonly used networks. The cheapest is the ring topology. Okay, basically what happens in a ring topology is that information is sent around the computer to each different computer, or as we like to call it, a node. So, for example, this guy here, he wants to send a message to this guy here, okay? Now, information only travels one way in ring topologies. So imagine he's sending an email to this guy here. The email goes this way, and it travels along the node. And as it travels along, it has to visit each computer and say, hey, is this message meant for you? And they say, nope. Okay, is this message meant for you? Nope. Is this message meant for you? Nope, pass it along. And is this message meant for you? Yep. And it goes there, all right? Information, as I said, only travels one way on a ring topology, and it has to go through each of the nodes or computers or users, okay? So advantages of a ring topology is that it is very organized. Collisions of signals are fewer because data only flows in one direction, as I said. And there's no need for an expensive server, okay? So another big advantage then is that it is relatively cheap. Disadvantages of a ring. They are very slow because all signals have to go through every single computer. Even if it's this guy, even if this guy is located on the left-hand side or very close to this guy here, all of the information that he wants to send him has to go through each single one in one direction. Okay. Another disadvantage is that increased users mean the network slows down. So if I add computers on this ring topology, the more that I have, the slower it will become. If one workstation goes down, the entire network is affected. That's because information has to go through each one of these computers. And also, if the cable breaks, if this cable breaks, the entire network will go down. Okay, so let's go to a bus topology, slightly a little bit better in terms of each computer has its own little laneway to the network. So this main line here, this is the main highway of information. And each computer has its own little driveway to the main highway of information. At the end of the bus topology as well, there is a terminator. Okay, the terminator acts as a wall so that if data is sent out and it goes all the way through the end, it'll be bounced back in case it is supposed to go to somebody. All right. Also, signals can go back and forth. So they don't just go in one direction, they can go in both directions. Okay, so advantages of a bus topology. Number one, they're relatively inexpensive. Okay. Another advantage is the terminator here that will go at the end. It bounces back signals, so it prevents loss of signals. Bus topologies are very easy to connect computers to one another, so it requires less cable than a star or a ring topology. Disadvantages. Because signals or data is moving back and forth on this main line here, signals can collide. We could potentially lose signals or have corrupt data. Another disadvantage is if this main line breaks, well, the entire network goes down. And if this main line breaks, it's very difficult to determine where it's broken, so it's difficult to identify problems on the network. Also, it's not very useful for very large groups of people because every time I add a user, it will slow my network down. Okay? Go to the last one, a star network, which is primarily the network that most people use today. Okay, right here would be a server, and as well this box would represent a server as well as a switch. We'll talk about what a switch is a little bit later. Okay, but this has the best performance of all because information can travel back and forth. But the switch, okay, the switch is programmed to tell data which computer the data goes to. Okay, in other words, these switches are programmed and they act as a post office for information, sending information to each computer so that it's very efficient and quick. Okay. Also, information can be stored usually on servers, which would represent this box as well. So servers store big slices of information. Nowadays, a lot of stuff is now stored up in the cloud. Okay, so best performance of all three. They're easy to connect devices and computers. That's true. Another advantage. It's easy to solve network problems because these lines, okay, these lines are only information is going to, as I said, the switch acts as a mail office, or sorry, as a post office. So if this guy isn't getting information, we know that the problem is along this line. So it's easy to solve those problems. Okay, the switch or the hub connects devices and passes signals quickly. I already described that. Disadvantages. If this guy here, if the switch breaks down, okay, if the server breaks down, big problems on my network. These switches and servers are also very expensive. So we need specialists to maintain and fix them. Okay, I'll go through this stuff in the second video on networks and talk to you guys soon. All right, bye.